I have a question for all of you. Americans' connection to the military has been increasing. As a society, how do we restore that sense of duty, that sense of pride that was the hallmark of the greatest generation? Again, I'd like to ask each of you 30 seconds each, beginning with Governor Jindal.
Well, a couple of things. First, I want to echo what others have said and thank those veterans that have run towards danger, not away from it, so we can live in the greatest country in the history of the world. I think every veteran should get that card, and they should be allowed to get that health care wherever they want in the private sector. But I also think, or the public sector, I also think we need to fire some of these VA bureaucrats. Somebody should go to jail over these scandals, and it is a crime that has not happened. When it comes to uniting the American people, one of the things we have done to honor our veterans in Louisiana, we have given thousands, and I've hand-delivered these to veterans, medals to veterans, to thank them for their service. I'll just give you one quick example. I know my time is out, but we've had Vietnam War veterans with tears in their eyes saying nobody has ever thanked them before. We've had World War II veterans, children, who said they'd never heard the stories of their parents' heroic sacrifice. Whatever conflict, whenever they served, one of the things we can do is to teach our children we do live in the greatest country in the history of the world. We've got a president who doesn't believe in American exceptionalism, but we still do, and it's because of those men and women in uniform. We should thank them every day, not just Veterans Day.
Governor Huckabee.
Well, I think thanking our veterans is a wonderful thing to do, but they'd sure appreciate a better paycheck. They'd appreciate the fact that we kept our promises to them. The men and women in uniform put on the uniform of our nation. They went halfway around the world. They faced dangers on our behalf. And we promised them if they did that, when they came home, we'd take care of their medical care. We'd make it possible for their kids to go to college, and they'd be able to buy into a home. They kept their promises to us. We have not kept our promises to them. And today, less than 1% of Americans go to the military for service. We're fighting wars with other people's kids in large measure because we've not taken seriously the moral, not the monetary, the moral obligation to take care of the veterans and to keep America's promise to the ones who kept their promise to America.
Governor Christie.
The way to reconnect Americans to the men and women in uniform is to first and foremost give them a commander-in-chief who respects the military and respects everyone who wears the uniform. It starts at the top, Trish. When Secretary Clinton says there's no crisis at the VA, that sends a long and hard message to our veterans that she doesn't get it and she doesn't respect their service. When the President of the United States doesn't back up law enforcement officers in uniform, he loses the moral authority to lead any man or woman who is in uniform. I spent 7 years in law enforcement. I respect these folks, and I will do so as Commander-in-Chief of the military.
Senator Santorum.
It should come as no surprise to Chris or anybody else that Barack Obama hasn't stood behind our men and women in uniform here at home, because he hasn't stood behind them overseas. The rules of engagement that we've allowed our soldiers to go and fight against have put them in harm's way for political purposes. This has been the most politicized wars that we've ever seen under this administration. He gets in and gets out based upon what the polls are saying and what pressure he's getting from groups. Talk about a commander-in-chief. We need a commander-in-chief who has a vision and plan of how we're going to execute the national security of our country. Commander-in-chief is not an entry-level position. Experience matters, and that's why I would ask for your support as a commander-in-chief, because I have the experience against the enemy that we confront to do the job.